In this lecture, we are going to see about the requirements of effective control and control techniques. So, what is the requirement for effective control in your organization and different techniques by which the organization can control its procedures in order to achieve the objectives? Now speaking about effective control, that is how can you make a controlling function of a manager effective in an organization. So these are some of the requirements. We can also add according to our logic. So first one, tailoring control to plan and position. It means that in our organization we may be having many types of plans. Marketing plan, sales plan, production plan, or even a training program plan given to workers. So our controlling function, it should be in accordance with our plan made. Similarly, there are different positions in the organization, that is the position held by different types of persons. For example, there can be a supervisor, there can be a staff. So whatever controlling plan we are making, it should be specific to the plan and it should be specific to the position. That is what you mean by this particular point. Next one, tailoring control to individual managers. That is, the control systems and information, they are meant for helping the individual managers. Okay, so they should be specific to the manager. Which type of manager is currently performing the function, whether he is a experienced or what type of leadership he is following. So controlling function, it should be specific to a individual manager. Next point, designing controls to point up exceptions at critical points. What does it mean? It means that we have seen already what is meant by critical point. So there is critical factors which are standing in the way of our controlling function. So we have to be giving a priority to all these critical points. So we can neglect some of the factors which are not that important, and then we can give importance to critical points which are very much important for achieving the objectives of our organization. Okay, so by concentrating on the very important aspects, the managers, they will be able to save their time and they will be able to deal with the problems which are very much important. So that is what you mean by this particular point. Next one is seeking objectivity of controls. That is, for every controlling function, the decision taken by a manager, it should be objective in nature. It should not be subjective. It should not be guided by any type of emotional feelings. And it should not be personal. Okay, so the control function, it should be accurate and it should be unbiased. So it should not be subjected to any type of partiality or any type of personal feeling. Okay, so always there should be objectivity. Next one is achieving economy of controls. That is the function of controlling. It should be economical and easy to maintain. So we should take care of our money or finance factor while we are considering the control function. Okay, so what we should do is that we have to minimize our cost. So to minimize our cost, management, they should try to impose the least amount of control. So we should also take care of our economy. Next one is ensuring flexibility of control. Okay, so we are living in an external environment. So suddenly there may be a threat of competition and there may be a technological change or even environmental change. So our controlling function must be flexible. It should change according to the external environment. That is what we mean here. So suddenly if a threat comes, a manager, he should be able to confront the particular situation. That is what you mean by ensuring the flexibility. Next one is fitting the system to the organization culture. Okay, suppose if you are having an organization where a leadership style followed by a manager is of democratic nature, then the decision making fact process will also incorporate the low level workers. Okay, so whatever control system we are following, it should adhere strictly with the organization culture. So suddenly if we are following, the leader is tending to follow autocratic style, the system, the controlling system may fail. So depending upon what is the organization culture, we should see or we should implement the controlling function in the organization. Okay, so it has to fit with the culture of the organization. Next one, establishing control that leads to corrective action. So the process of controlling itself involves what? Identification of deviation and then taking the corrective action. So if we are not taking the proper corrective action, then there is no meaning of controlling. Okay, so the control system also has to point out what is the problem, where the deviation has occurred, and what corrective actions are to be done so that we can get to the desired objectives. Okay, so we should identify correctly the deviation, and we should also identify where the deviation has to be done and what corrective actions are to be performed. If corrective actions are performed only, then our controlling function will become effective. So these are the requirements of effective control. So these are some of the control techniques. First one, we are already familiar with all of the control techniques. That is budget. That is a financial statement. Okay, so we are formulating the plan for a given future period in numerical terms. For example, like capital expenditure budget, sales budget, etc. So initially we make this budget, the estimated budget. So we can say that it is generally formulated before the commencement of work activities. So they become the standard to the manager for measuring, monitoring and controlling the work activity, and also the basis for coordinating different activities of an organization. So the controlling technique, the most important is the budget. Whether if we are able to express in financial and numerical term, it is well and good. So it will not be like the intangible factors which are difficult to measure. So whatever factors we could express in terms of finance or numerically, it will be more clearer about the objective. Okay, so it is better to express a budget before the commencement of our work. Okay, so for all the levels of management, formulation of a budget is very much important. Now we have about the zero-based budgeting. Now in this particular technique, every year the budget is made on a nil basis. That is, we are not going to consider about our previous expenses or previous expenditures, and we are going to consider only about a fresh budget. So it can only be possible if your estimated income will be equal to the estimated expenses. So when we are dividing the enterprise programs into packages composed of goals, activities and needed resources, and then calculating the cost for each package from a base zero. Okay, so the common tendency in budgeting of looking only at the changes from a previous period has been avoided here. So we are not considering here anything about our past budget. So this technique can be applied to supporting areas like marketing, research, development rather than production. In production area, usually we consider about the past budget, and we will be identifying the deviation and then estimating the budget. So the major advantage is that this method forces the manager to plan each program afresh. Now we have seen about the budgetary control technique. Now we will see about some non-budgetary control techniques where we are not going to express our controlling process in numerical terms. So these are some of the methods: Gantt chart, break-even analysis, program evaluation review technique and milestone budgeting. Now we can speak of the Gantt chart. We have already seen about the Gantt chart in our second module. It was developed by Henry L. Gantt. It is a bar chart showing the relationship of activities on a time scale. So we will be having x-axis and y-axis. Then the vertical axis or the y-axis is going to represent the activities, and the horizontal axis shows the time elapsed. So this is an example of a Gantt chart, and in this we can see that the horizontal axis represents the time and the vertical axis represents the activities to be performed, and it is a bar chart. So by looking at this particular chart, we will be able to identify what type of activities are performed, say in a particular time, or we can say that when will a project be completed, what will be the total time taken in completing a particular project. For example, you can see that in this particular case, the project has started its planning process at the middle of, say, January, and then it will proceed to research, say only at the time of February, and further on it is completed its implementation and follow up by the say middle of July. Okay, so this is how you draw inference from a Gantt chart. It is a type of bar chart where you can see that what time is taken for a activity to complete, starting from say planning process and ending with implementation, follow up, etc. Next one is a break-even analysis. It is a graphical technique of control. So by using this, we can identify an appropriate number of units to be produced to generate maximum revenue to cover the cost. So here maximum revenue indicates the maximum profit which we are getting or the income which we are getting, and this is the expenditure incurred, that is a cost. So if we are having a graphical, so here we can say that the horizontal axis is representing how many units is being produced and the vertical axis is showing the money value. Okay, so if we are trying to say draw a graph, for example, this is the level of sales. This red color indicate the level of sales. So for these much production unit, how much level of sale has occurred. Okay, so the revenue is shown by this particular color, red color. And this is the total expenditure incurred or the total cost incurred in producing this so much units. So at one particular point, you can see that the total cost is equal to the total revenue. So by using this technique, production and sales volume can be controlled to avoid a loss. That is, we will be getting an idea. Say at what point we have the total cost equal to total revenue or the appropriate number of unit to be produced to generate the maximum revenue to cover the cost, etc. So next technique is the milestone budgeting. So it is developed from the Gantt chart. What it is doing is that it is breaking a project down into controllable pieces and then carefully follows them. They are defined as identifiable segments. It is similar to Gantt chart. That is, we are having horizontal axis representing the time and vertical axis representing the activities. Only difference is that here we are introducing the checkpoints. For example, by August 12th, there is a checking, that is executive checkpoint 1. So we are actually dividing the whole of the project into controllable segments so that effectively a controlling process can be executed. Basically, it is same as that of Gantt chart. Only difference is that we have identifiable segments. So next we have about the project evaluation review technique, which is devised from the Gantt chart. It is a time event network analysis system in which the various events in a program or project are identified with a planned time established for each. So the basic concept is that derived from Gantt, that is, we have two factors, what is the time and what are the number of activities to be performed in fully implementing a particular project. Okay. So these are the terms which is related to the network analysis using a PERT or program evaluation review technique. Why we are calling it as a network analysis also. So in this case we have got a network diagram. That is a diagram which represents all the activities in sequence along with their interrelationship and interdependence. So you will understand this better in the next figure. That is, we have got what are the events. We are representing it in the form of a network. What are the events? So in order to establish certain event, we have to perform many types of activities. And there are critical activities and non-critical activities. Critical activities means that these activities are very much important. That is, if they consume more time than the estimated time, obviously our project will be delayed and our desired objectives will not be met. And there are non-critical activities also. So these activities, if we are delaying it also, it is not going to affect much our objectives. Okay, so there are critical and non-critical activities, and the path of the critical activities are referred to as critical path. Okay, so they are formed by critical activities. It is that sequence of activities which is going to decide about the total project duration. So in this you can see, for example, the activities, they are represented by the alphabets A, B, C, D, and all these numbers, they are the time taken, say 4 hours, 5 hours, etc. to complete, to go from the first step to second step to fourth step. That is, you are going here from the third step to the fourth step. So these are some of the activities which is to be performed. And this is the activity duration, and this is the activity to be performed, and this is a node or the event. So these much events are occurring, say from event number 1 to 5 is occurring in completing say a particular project, and these are the name of the activities represented by the alphabets, and in this case a critical path is written to be 1, 2, 4, 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 4 and 5, they are being shown here as such. That is, it indicates that this is the critical path. If you are going to delay the activity number 1, 2, 4 and 5, then our desired objectives cannot be met, our project will be delayed. So this represents the total project duration. Activity 3 is not that important. Even if you delay it, or even if you go in step with the other activity also, our event will not be delayed. Our total result will not be having any deviation. We will be able to complete our project in time. So this is a network type of control analysis. Now coming to the advantages and disadvantages of program evaluation review technique. The advantages are it forces the managers to plan. It forces the planning all the way from top to bottom. That is, we are going from the first activity to the last activity, and it concentrate on the important critical factors or critical elements. That is, we have critical path duration. So it make it possible for a kind of forward looking control. So we can focus our control on the inputs itself. It is a type of a feed forward control, and it enables the managers to aim reports and pressure for action at the right spot, right time. So we can correctly observe, for example, if in our critical activity, why is our particular activity being delayed? So at that time itself we can take the control. So it is a type, we can say that it is a concurrent control also. So it is a type of feed forward control, and it is a type of concurrent control, etc. Then the limitations of the PERT. It is not useful when the program is nebulous. That is, when our concept about say a particular project or a program, it is being not correctly defined. It is ill defined and the concept is very much vague. Then we cannot go for PERT technique. It emphasizes only on time. As we have seen, we are focusing only on activities related with time, and it does not focus on the cost or the expenditure involved. So in this particular section, we have discussed about the steps for effective controlling and some of the controlling techniques which could be employed, that is regarding the budget and non-budgetary control techniques.